Part 41. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 401. Hearing the siren, everyone in Biwa City looked up at the sky with doubts. What happened? How could the defensive light curtain be destroyed? Where did the enemy come from? The light curtain did disappear, but they did not see any trace of the enemy. Unlike ordinary people, when they heard the alarm sound, many Biwa Star executives who were in a meeting just now flew into the sky in an instant. Dozens of battle armors cut through the sky and headed straight into the sky. When they arrived outside the Biwa Star, everyone looked around in confusion. Except for some aerospace satellites that were still operating, there was no trace of the enemy at all. Lord Territory Lord, this. A Star Destroyer fleet had just been destroyed, and now the main star's defensive light curtain had been destroyed again. No matter who the other party is, they are provoking them and the entire Sky Empire. Martial law in the whole area, check it out for me. Hong Yan's originally calm eyes narrowed slightly. Obviously he was a little angry that the other party didn't take his beiwuxing seriously. After Hong Yan's order was issued, many galaxies in the northern region of the Sky Empire entered a state of martial law. Even the interstellar pirates wandering in the starry sky stayed away from the northern galaxy after hearing the news. They dare not go against the official forces. However, the incident on Biwa Star also spread to the other three regions and the Emperor Star. For a time, the northern region became a joke to the other three regions. If the real culprit could not be caught, even his hometown was almost demolished. This is embarrassing no matter how you look at it. On the Emperor Star of the Sky Empire, a man with a strange and cold appearance looked at the half-dressed beauty in front of him and smiled. That useless thing Hong Yan couldn't even defend his own home, and even broke into a Star Destroyer fleet. When my father comes out of confinement, I will read his book. This position of Northern Territory Lord should be mine. What do you think, beauty? The woman lowered her head and replied tremblingly. Your Majesty is right. The person in front of him was cruel and violent, and he was even known to be murderous. She didn't dare to look at him, let alone answer his questions. The enchanting man held up her chin with his fingers and said softly. Beauty, you hesitated. Puff. A finger came out from behind the woman's neck. The woman's eyes widened, she covered her neck and took 2 steps back before falling to the ground. The strange man took out a handkerchief and wiped the blood on his hands. Then he threw the handkerchief to the woman's face and covered her frightened cheeks. Someone is coming. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. The 2 slaves walked in quickly, looked at the corpse on the ground and quickly lowered their heads. Drag him out and feed the dog. Yes, Your Highness. The 2 quickly picked up the body on the ground and walked out. They did not dare to stay in this place for a moment. Hey, everyone in the world is afraid of me, is Your Highness so scary? Ha ha ha. The strange man laughed to himself, but the sound sounded very scary. Emperor Kongtian has lived for thousands of years and is still very active today. His descendants know that they cannot inherit the throne. All are looking for ways to seek higher power. The position of the domain lord of the 4 domains is the main target of their competition. Since they can't be the emperor of the sky and Sky Empire, it would be good for them to become a local emperor in a region. However, there are only a few positions, and it is too difficult to obtain them. Many princes have already gone insane during these power struggles, and often do some outrageous things. But they are princes, and their father is the Sky Emperor. No one in the Sky Empire can control them. This time such a big event happened in the Northern Territory. Many princes and powerful people in the Empire all set their sights on the Northern Territory. If Hong Yan makes one more wrong step, they will take action. This was one of the reasons why Hong Yan was angry. His position is not yet as stable as Mount Tai. In an unknown wilderness in Biwa Star. Suren and Yoon 11 landed here from outside. Aren't we going to your house? This is where your family lives? Suren looked at the wilderness and looked at Yoon 11 strangely. What do you mean? If you hadn't destroyed the light curtain without saying a word, I wouldn't have run to this hellish place in a panic. Yoon 11 raised her left hand, and a palm-sized screen rose up from the armor in her hand. On the screen, the shadow of a planet was slowly rotating. It should look like a satellite map. Let me see where we are now first. Yoon 11 tapped the screen with her right index finger, and then Suren saw her face turn pale. Broken. What's wrong? Yoon 11 looked at the surrounding environment and said with a trembling voice. We ran into the penalty area, and it was the deepest part. Don't your Sky and Sky Empire control hundreds of galaxies? Can there still be restricted areas? Oh, what do you know? The depths of this restricted area are connected to an unknown space. Even the Emperor dare not go deep into it. Now we are finished. This place has always been inaccessible. After hearing this, Suren tried it and found that his flying ability was useless. Huh? It's interesting. The ability given by my speech method is also ineffective here. There's something really weird about this place. Suren tried to use a wormhole to leave here, but in the end, even the wormhole could only be dug out less than 10 meters. Suren looked around again and found nothing strange, and then checked again with his spiritual consciousness. I found that my consciousness could only extend about 10 meters, and could not extend any further, as if it was blocked by something. Suren, what should we do now? Yoon 11 was so anxious that she was spinning in circles. It's not dangerous. Don't be afraid. I'm here to make sure you can get out. Well, of course it's not dangerous during the day, but it's dangerous at night. I don't know what's in here. Anyway, I heard that demons are dancing here at night, and whoever comes in will die here. Suren was still calm at this moment. He tried the sword just now and it was still able to cut through everything. Having this one is enough. If he really couldn't get out, Suren wouldn't mind stabbing the ground. Want to trap him? Then no one should live. When the time comes, Bae Wuxing will be beheaded. I don't care whether you are in a restricted area or not. They will all die. Inside Biwa City, people from the supervision department have found out that the last person identified through the light curtain was the Yoon 11 they were looking for. They quickly reported the matter to superiors. After hearing this, the director of the supervision department said coldly, I found her location and must find her for me. He still doesn't know who killed his grandson, and Yoon 11 is probably the only one who knows the truth. Yoon 11's appearance directly shocked the top management of Biwa Star. However, the query results came out soon. Yoon 11's position was in the Biwa restricted area, and everyone was stunned. Why did she go to the restricted area? I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 402. I don't care where she is, just bring her back to me. Even if you can't catch her, you must interrogate everything she knows and pass it back to her. But, Mr. Director, that is deep inside the restricted area. We will die if we go in. If it's the edge of the restricted area, they can still save people, but deep inside the restricted area, that's a place that even the Sky Emperor doesn't want to touch. You must go even if you die. Don't you think you can resist the order? The director of the supervision department looked grim. He couldn't control that much. He was even more anxious about this matter than Hong Yan, the leader of the Northern Territory. At this time, a person next to the director of the supervision department said, Mr. Secretary, it's getting dark soon, why don't we let them in again tomorrow morning? In this way, they will have one day to find the patrol angel. The director of the supervision department nodded upon hearing this. Okay, just give them one day. On the Tianxun division side, After hearing the news, the director of the Sky Survey Department said doubtfully. As a patrol angel, how could Yun 11 break into the restricted area? And since she has identification, she doesn't need to break the light curtain to enter Biwa Star. Could it be that, she was caught and threatened to lead the way, and then she decided to die with these gangsters and led them into the restricted area? The more the director of the Sky Survey Department thought about it, the more he realized that his idea made sense. Otherwise, there is no reason for a patrol angel to get lost on his own territory. No, for such a good subordinate, I will never let her die in the restricted area. Somebody come. Mr. Secretary, what's the matter? Pass my order and all the patrol angels will follow me to the outside of the restricted area and be on standby. The men were a little confused, but they still bowed and said yes. Yes, Mr. Secretary. Not only are the two divisions taking action, but at this moment, all the big families and powerful forces on the entire Biwa Star are taking action. The Territory Lord has already placed a reward. Anyone who can rescue Yun 11 will be rewarded with 100,000 spiritual stones. Anyone in the clan who is an official will be promoted to 1 level. Those who have no official position can choose a lower grade official position. As soon as this bounty came out, not to mention the big families, even ordinary people went crazy. The matter was discussed everywhere on the street, and everyone imagined that they were the lucky ones. Outside the Biwa restricted area, there has never been a day as lively as now. People from thousands of miles away rushed over, even people from other galaxies in the northern region, and people from the other 3 major regions came over. Outside the Biwa restricted area, it was overcrowded for a while. Countless armors, airships, etc. crowded the sky. The ground was even more crowded and noisy. Selling Yun 11's image data. With it, you can find her faster. Each copy only costs 10 spirit stones. Don't miss it if you pass by. 10 spiritual stones will win you 100,000. Among the crowd, there was a smart person who used his connections to get Yun 11's information and started selling it. 10 spirit stones. Give me 1. I want it too, give me 1 too. Don't grab them, they are all there, don't grab them one by one. The people who sold the information were all smiles, and they kept taking out information one by one from the space ring and selling it to the people around them. The person who bought the information watched quietly, for fear of being seen by others. There are also smart people who buy the information and immediately copy it and start selling it at a reduced price. Don't tell me, Yun 11 is really pretty. I feel pity for this little face and mouth. You think if I rescue her from the restricted area, will she commit herself to me? Hee hee. When the time comes, not only will I get the reward, but I will also be able to hold the beauty back. A middle-aged man looked at the portrait materials and fantasized. The person next to me couldn't stand listening anymore and said, "Haha, brother, do you want to take a look at your majestic appearance? Also, do you really think that the restricted area is your vegetable patch and back garden? You can enter when you want, and you can leave when you want. Go ahead and dream. None of your business." The middle-aged man put away the portrait and glared at this man. Cut. The man secretly gave him a middle finger. There are many people with illusions like middle-aged men, otherwise they would not be gathered here. As night falls, the 3 suns in the sky finally set. However, the lights outside the restricted area are brightly lit, and everyone is waiting for dawn tomorrow. Daylight is the safest time in the restricted area, and it is also when they operate. The more people there are, the greater the courage, and everyone has a herd mentality. Even facing the restricted area, they dared to break in at this time. Within the restricted area, a big demon listened to his subordinate's report with suspicion in his eyes. "What did you say? The humans of Biwa Star are preparing to attack our restricted area. Are they crazy?" the Biwa restricted area is actually an extension of their demon world territory. And this was tacitly approved by the Sky and Sky Emperor. Emperor Sky and Sky went deep into the restricted area and reached an agreement after a battle with the Demon Emperor inside. The Biwa restricted area was under the control of the Demon Clan, and humans from Biwa Star were not allowed to enter. Of course, the Demon Clan will not leave the restricted area and go to human territory. If the human race dares to enter, the demon race has the right to kill the human race. That's why the term restricted area came into being. Night is the time when most monsters come out for activities, so restricted areas at night are more dangerous. Lord Tiger Lord, everything my subordinates said is true. Now the Biwa tribe has gathered more than 1 million people outside the restricted area. Judging from their posture, they will definitely attack in the morning. Huh, how brave. Kong Tian doesn't even dare to attack my restricted area, how dare they attack us? You go notify the other demon lords, and I'll report it to the Dragon Emperor. Yes, Lord Tiger. Deep inside the restricted area, Suren and Suren had been walking out for several hours. Yun 11 looked in the direction and stopped. No, you can't go any further at night, you'll definitely get lost. How about we find a place to hide and wait until we spend the night? Good. Suren skillfully took out the tent and even the grill and other things and began to set up the camp on the spot. Yun 11 looked at Suren's actions in a daze. What's wrong? Practice makes perfect, don't be so weird. Suren has experienced this kind of camping experience many times, so he keeps tents and other things in his space backpack ready at any time. I can understand the tent, but your grill. Are you going to light a fire and roast something to eat? Suren nodded as he should. Of course, then why would I bring the grill out? To dry the clothes. But, didn't I say there are many powerful monsters here? If you light a fire, wouldn't you attract them here? Yun 11 couldn't understand Suren's operation. This kind of thing happened not once or twice. Every time, Suren could do something that surprised her, such as cutting off the Stargate, or cutting down the light curtain without making a sound. She always felt that she couldn't keep up with Suren's brain circuit. Hearing her doubts, Suren nodded again. Yes, I just want to lure them here. Otherwise, what are we going to eat tonight? Yun 11. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 403. Stop standing there stupidly and help light the fire. It seems I haven't eaten in a few days and I'm a little hungry. Suren urged. This prisoner has absolutely no consciousness of being a prisoner, and he still needs to be reminded. Are you still hungry in this state? Yun 11 didn't ask this question, because every time she had doubts, Suren would defeat her with a complete set of theories. Although it always feels like something is wrong, it sounds very reasonable. After the two lit the fire, they sat quietly by the campfire. According to Suren's wishes, they needed to wait for the prey to come. The red firelight dyed Yun 11's face red. Looking at it casually, she really felt like a fairy descending from the earth. Suren glanced at her and said slowly. If after we get out, you say that I kidnapped you and forced you to lead the way here, then you won't be targeted and suspected by them. You also tell them that I did what happened to the Star Destroyer. In short, just dump everything on me. This way, they should believe you. After all, everyone who was traveling with her was dead, and she was the only one who was fine. This couldn't be justified. But I personally killed the people in the supervision department. Suren looked at her and shook his head, smiling. Isn't that why I forced you to do this? Actually, I wanted to kill you at first. Then I thought, if I want to come to the Northern Territory, I have to leave someone alive to lead the way, so I didn't kill you. But after getting along with each other along the way, I feel that you are actually not a bad person at heart. You are just indoctrinated by them for a long time, which led to those bad ideas appearing in your heart. So, I let you go back so that you can return to your family again. However, I hope you will no longer be prejudiced against those in the exiled land in the future. They are also human beings, and they are also living lives. Can you do it? Suren asked, looking into her eyes. I promise you, I will do it. Yoon 11 nodded heavily, with a firm look in her eyes. At the same time, I thought silently in my heart, I will tell everyone what you taught me, and I will make them learn to respect the lives of others. I will not let you down. The two were camping less than a kilometer away, one wolf and the other staring at the fire in the distance, with a hint of cruelty in their eyes. Brother Wolf, these two humans are really courageous. Even if they come to the depths of the restricted area, they now dare to start a fire there with such arrogance. I think they don't take our brothers seriously. Brother Yao, tell me, how should we kill them? Asked the wolf demon. Hey, how about one person each based on his or her own abilities? Good. The wolves and the other reached a consensus, and one after the other they headed towards the camp where Suren and the others were, killing each other. 10 minutes later. This wolf leg should be cooked by now. Come and have a taste of my craftsmanship. Suren broke off a wolf leg and handed it to Yoon 11. Thanks. In fact, she no longer needed to eat in this state, but she wanted to try the food Suren baked. How is it? Does it taste good? Yeah, delicious. Yoon 11 nodded and took another bite. On the ground not far from the bonfire, the demon who was tied to the ground watched the two people feasting there, and couldn't help but sip the saliva from the corner of his mouth. Then he seemed to feel something was wrong again, and couldn't help crying in a low voice. Ugh, Brother Wolf, I can't help you. I didn't know this kid was so powerful. Brother, I hurt you and myself. If I had known, I wouldn't have come. Hearing the cry beside him, Suren broke off one of the wolf's legs and looked at it and asked. Hey, monster, why are you crying? Are you hungry? Do you want to eat? I just baked it and we can't finish it. When the monster heard this, he subconsciously replied, Ah. Is it really okay? Suren threw the roasted wolf leg to its mouth. The monster smelled it, swallowed, then opened its mouth to nibble. While eating, he cried, Brother Wolf, ugh, your legs, ugh, taste really good. Brother, I'm sorry for you. When Yoon 11 saw this scene, she burst out laughing. On the surface, brothers are not as good as each other. After sorting out her expression, Yoon 11 asked. Suren, won't you kill it? Hearing this, the monster stopped nibbling on the wolf's legs and pricked up his ears to listen. Although brothers' wolf legs are delicious, life is also important. Suren glanced at it and smiled, I guess you want to eat it yourself. Huzun wiped the sweat from his forehead, stood up and looked at the retreating figure. After flying for a few minutes, the Dragon Emperor suddenly looked at the fire not far away. It has now reached the upper 7th realm, but it is as weak as a child in front of the Dragon Emperor. Tiger Lord quickly flew through the layers of ice and snow to the highest peak of the small world. There was not only fire in that place, but also laughter and laughter. A dragon roar resounded throughout the small world. The Sky Emperor has never come. Don't kill me. I can take you to find any kind of delicious food you want. Let me go, is this the large ice dragon king? Huh? Kong Tian is here too. In a small world of ice and snow in the deepest part of the restricted area. A figure without anger or authority appeared in front of it. Tiger Lord suddenly felt the pressure double at this moment, and he knelt on the ground with a plop. The wolf demon glanced at the wolf demon on the grill and began to cry softly again. Humph, who gave them the courage? How brave! We have already reached the depths of the restricted area. A giant ice and snow dragon tens of thousands of meters roared through the sky. It couldn't bear the pressure alone. The person in front of him looked about 50 or 60 years old, but Lord Tiger knew that this was the incarnation of the demon emperor who had lived for an unknown amount of time. At this time, Suren was asking Yun 11 how to get to the Blood River, when he saw a huge figure flying towards him in the sky in the distance. Tiger Lord withdrew his gaze and quickly flew down the mountain towards the exit of the small world. Yes, brother, you are absolutely right. The restricted area is my home. I can take you wherever you want to go. After arriving at the top of the snow mountain, Tiger Lord walked to a dragon palace and bowed. Humanity. Leave it to lead the way. It lives in a restricted area and is more familiar with the environment here than you and I. The demon nodded quickly when he heard this and said. The Dragon Emperor quickly flew over. For your information, Lord Dragon Emperor, Biwu has nearly 1 million human beings gathering outside the restricted area. It seems that they are preparing to attack the restricted area. Today, it is less than 10 meters above the ground. Suren stood up, looked at the giant dragon, and couldn't help but said in surprise. Even it cannot completely resolve the forbidden air here. After the Dragon Emperor left the small world, the strong pressure made his flying figure lower. Also, don't call me big brother, your big brother is still roasting on the grill. Let me go and see how they dare to attack the restricted area. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 404. Dragon, Lord Dragon Emperor. Looking at the giant dragon, the wolf leg held in the monster's mouth fell to the ground with a clatter. Then he did not forget to shout loudly. Lord Dragon Emperor, help me, these two humans ate my brother, and now they want to eat me. Suren, this is the great emperor of the demon clan. His Majesty fought with it for 3 days and 3 nights, and finally had no choice but to designate the restricted area as the territory of the demon clan. What should we do? Yun 11 looked at the unfinished roasted wolf legs in her hands and panicked. This is really a case of both people taking the stolen goods, and there is no way to argue. After the Dragon Emperor flew over, he turned into a human and looked at Suren and the two coldly. Okay, 2 fledgling humans dare to come to my restricted area to kill my demon clan. Today, I will use your flag as a sacrifice. After the Dragon Emperor finished speaking, he raised his hand and was about to suppress Suren and the two. Wait a moment. Suren shouted. What? Do you have any last words to say? No, I just happen to know a dragon who looks a lot like you. Suren shouted to the pet space, Ice Dragon King, come out for a moment. Suren glanced at the Dragon Emperor in the sky. He always felt that this Dragon Emperor was somewhat similar to the Ice Dragon King. That's why he didn't take action immediately. Master, what's the matter? The Ice Dragon King is now basically practicing in the beast space with the help of the power of Hongmeng Purple Chi. Because its ability has been difficult to keep up with Suren's pace, Suren has basically not been able to use it recently. Look at this, is it possible that you two know each other? The moment the Ice Dragon King came out, the Dragon Emperor, who was still indifferent at first, suddenly turned his eyes. Then he flew to the Ice Dragon King at a very fast speed and looked at him excitedly. You. Tell me, what's your name? The Ice Dragon King looked at the man in front of it strangely. For some reason, it always felt like it should know him. It felt like there was something connected between the two sides that couldn't be separated. My name is Skatha, who is you? Skasa, your name is Skasa. At this time, the Dragon Emperor's eyes were filled with tears in addition to excitement. You really are my son. My father finally found you. Do you know how long my father has been looking for you? The Dragon Emperor held onto the Ice Dragon King's claws and refused to let go. The expressions of excitement, guilt, and joy in his eyes kept changing. Are you my father? The Ice Dragon King looked at the man in front of him in disbelief. Upon hearing this, the Dragon Emperor flew up and transformed into his true form instantly. A giant ice and snow dragon tens of thousands of meters across the night sky. The giant dragon looked at the Ice Dragon King below and said, "Do you believe it now? Father?" The Ice Dragon King finally knew what that feeling was. It was the feeling of blood connection, the feeling of inheritance of the dragon clan. The Dragon Emperor transformed into a human form again and flew down. My good son, I never thought that one day you and I would be reunited here. Ha ha ha, this is all God's will. The Dragon Emperor laughed happily, with indescribable joy and excitement in his eyes. After laughing, the Dragon Emperor looked regretful and said, "Back then, when the two major forces of the human race were fighting, I accidentally lost you. Our father and son have been separated for thousands of years. My father has searched all over the universe and searched for you for thousands of years. Only then did he settle down here after being frustrated. I never expected that God would send you back." After hearing this, the Ice Dragon King pointed at Suren and said, "Father, this is all thanks to my master. If it weren't for him, we, father and son, would never see each other in our lives." After hearing this, the Dragon Emperor suddenly became cold. "What did you call him? Master? How dare this human being enslave you?" The surrounding air suddenly dropped by dozens of degrees. The originally burning bonfire was instantly extinguished. The Dragon Emperor was angry because his son was actually used as a pet. Today, he must kill this human to vent his hatred. Upon seeing this, the Ice Dragon King hurriedly explained, "Father, don't do anything yet, just listen to my explanation. Don't be afraid, my son. With your father here today, no one can hurt you. I will kill him today to satisfy your hatred." "No, father, I am afraid that you will be killed by your master." Hearing this, the Dragon Emperor smiled. "Son, I'm afraid you don't know my father's strength. Even in the heaven realm, there are few people who can be my father's opponent. Just because he's a little human. Father, can you listen to my advice?" The Dragon Emperor looked at the Ice Dragon King, his heart softened, and he sighed. "You said it, and I listened." The Ice Dragon King glanced at Suren, and then told the story of the two of them. "Father, in short, without the master, we would not have the opportunity to recognize each other as father and son. I hope that you can live in peace and harmony is the most important thing for everyone. May I?" The Ice Dragon King looked at the Dragon Emperor and asked. He didn't look at Suren because he knew Suren's temper. If Suren didn't see the similarities between his father and himself, he would have taken action long ago and wouldn't have asked himself to come out to recognize him. Now, the only person he has to convince is his father. The Dragon Emperor looked at Suren and was silent for a moment. Then he said, "From now on, my son must come back to me. If you don't agree." "I promised, he can go with you now." Suren smiled and nodded before the Dragon Emperor finished speaking. When father and son recognize each other, Suren will naturally not do anything to break them up. He called the Ice Dragon King out because he actually wanted to see if they were related. From the beginning, Suren had no intention of forcing the Ice Dragon King to stay with him. "You." The Dragon Emperor was a little stunned. He was sure that the young man in front of him was not afraid of his power, but sincerely wanted to return his son. That shows that he is being petty instead. "Sorry, if I have offended you in any way, please forgive me. Thank you for your profound understanding and righteousness. If you can be of use to me in the future, just ask. I haven't asked you your name yet." To be able to make a monster emperor like Dragon Emperor put down his posture and apologize showed that he really recognized Suran's character. My name is Suran. Brother Suran, thank you for allowing my father and son to reunite. This emperor will definitely remember this kindness in his heart. Suran smiled. It takes a little effort, but it doesn't matter. Dragon Emperor nodded and looked at Suran with a much kinder look. By the way, Brother Suran, why did you come to the depths of the restricted area? Oh, it's nothing. When my friend brought me back from the outer world, he ran into this place in a panic and got lost. Yun 11 on the side heard this and stared at Suran with a pair of beautiful eyes. If she heard correctly, Suran just called her a friend. The Dragon Emperor suddenly realized. I see, I can take you out tomorrow. Thank you very much. I'm just worried about how to get out. One person and one dragon lit a bonfire again, and sat there chatting, feeling like they had been friends for years. The monster on the ground was already dumbfounded. I thought a savior had arrived, but now we are in a group. My wolf brother, I can't help you. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 405. In the subsequent conversation between the two, Suran asked about Emperor Kongtian. Kongtian has fought against you. How strong is he? The Dragon Emperor was also a little surprised at Suran's strength through the conversation. To be able to destroy a Star Destroyer fleet by one person, in his opinion, it's not bad to have such strength at this age. After learning about the conflict between Suran and the Kongtian Empire, he also told everything he knew about the Kongtian Emperor. His strength is not as good as mine, but he has the immortal treasure given to him by the master of the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace. Otherwise, how could he have fought with me for 3 days and 3 nights? In the end, he felt that he would lose if he continued to fight, so he gave the restricted area to me. Suran was a little confused when he heard this. You said he gave this restricted area to you. Isn't it because you are here that this becomes a restricted area? The Dragon Emperor shook his head. Of course not. If this is my emperor's territory, how could this forbidden air affect me? This no-go zone has been around since before I came here. I have been to the end of the small world deep in the restricted area once. There is an endless ocean of darkness and a white wall with no end visible at a glance. What? Suran frowned when he heard this. This is too familiar, there are these two things at the end of the abyss. That was also the only time Suran's sword draw failed and had no effect on the white wall. And in this place, Suran's words and actions were restricted. Suran didn't take that place to heart at first, but now he thinks about it. That white wall and that endless ocean might be related to my identity as a conceptual god. Brother Suran, what's the problem? The Dragon Emperor looked at Suran and frowned, saying something strange. Nothing, I've seen the same thing as you described. Oh? Where did you see it? Blue Star, a place called the Abyss. The Dragon Emperor was also confused now. He picked up the last roasted wolf leg and ate it while muttering to himself. Logically speaking, Blue Star is far away from Biwu, so there shouldn't be any connection. There really is a big secret deep in this restricted area. Well, this meat is roasted well, is there any more? When the demon beside him heard what the Dragon Emperor said, his eyes turned white and he fainted with fear. But Suran didn't kill it in the end. Killing his subordinates in front of the Dragon Emperor was fine when you didn't know him, but now you are embarrassed to do it now that you know him. At this time, a group of big demons rushed over and knelt down after seeing the Dragon Emperor. Lord Dragon Emperor, we have notified all the demon leaders and you can leave for the outside of the restricted area now. This is what you are doing. Suran thought, you don't need to be so grand when sending us out. Just send 1 or 2 monsters. How does it feel like all the monsters in the restricted area have been summoned? Haha, Brother Suren doesn't know. The Biwastar human race has gathered millions of people outside the restricted area and is preparing to attack the restricted area. We are going to give them some color. If you dare to violate my restricted area, I will make it impossible for them to come back. Suren couldn't help but look at Yoon 11 aside when he heard this. Yoon 11 shook her head and said she didn't know what the situation was. The demon lords looked at the young man who was the brother of the Dragon Emperor and couldn't help but silently guess his identity. When he saw the remaining body of the wolf demon on the grill, all the demon masters took a breath. The Dragon Emperor actually killed the wolf demon and gave it to this young man as dinner? And there is a devilish monster on the ground beside it, and it seems that it hasn't started roasting yet. At this time, the demon masters became more and more curious about Suren's identity. I silently thought to myself that I must be respectful to this young man when I meet him in the future, lest I also become a dead soul on the gridiron. Brother Suren, will you come with us? Or will you go out after tonight? Let's rest here for the night, you go first. With the demon leading the way, Suren was not in a hurry. The most important thing was that he was always on the road and wanted to have a good sleep first. Okay, let's go first. The Dragon Emperor stood up and gave Suren a meaningful look. As a dragon, he knew that he had to give young people time to be alone. The Dragon Emperor looked at the demon masters. You all have to look out for me. This is my brother. Seeing him in the future will be like seeing me. Yes, Lord Dragon Emperor. After the Dragon Emperor finished speaking, he pointed to the Ice Dragon King next to him and said, "This is the son I have been looking for 1,000 years, and he will be your young master from now on." The demon lords looked at the Ice Dragon again. No wonder they felt that this dragon looked somewhat similar to the Dragon Emperor from the beginning. Unexpectedly, he was the son of the Dragon Emperor who had been missing for thousands of years. I've met the young master. Ha ha ha, let's go. The Dragon Emperor waved his hand and led the demons towards the edge of the restricted area. After the demons left, Yoon 11 spoke. Suren, are you really going to the Blood River? The aura of the Dragon Emperor just now was so strong that she didn't even dare to say a word. She could only watch Suren and the Dragon Emperor chatting there. She actually admired Suren. It seemed that no matter when or who he met, this young man was always so calm and calm. Well, I need bloodstones. That's the only place where I can get a lot of bloodstones. But stop it, if I tell you that the river is under my control, would you believe it? Yoon 11 shook her head. There is no such ability in the world. Moreover, the Blood River is not a river, it just has a river in its name. Suren didn't explain much when he saw this. Indeed, few people would believe this kind of thing. Then, didn't you say you were going to my house? Are you still going? When Yoon 11 said this, she lowered her head with some anxiety. She mustered up the courage to say this. Don't go. Since you're back safely, we'd better not have any contact. Even if I kill those people in power, it's inevitable that some people with ulterior motives will harm you. The word Ren in Suren's name also destined him to be unable to cut off the entire Biwastar with a ruthless sword. If he does that, countless civilians will die under Suren's sword. What is the difference between him and these people in the Sky Empire? Therefore, Suren could only kill those in power in the Sky Empire. But Suren now has a new way. He can kill the people in charge of the Sky and Sky Empire and then let the Dragon Emperor take charge of the Sky and Sky Empire's territory. This can solve the order problem caused by the absence of a leader. It was impossible for him to stay here, so Suren had to find a leader to lead them. And Dragon Emperor is the best candidate. As for the Wushuan Alliance, Suren didn't consider them at all. If Wandeo Immortal Palace knew that the Wushuan Alliance controlled the territory of the Sky Empire, it would definitely be another war, and the unlucky people would still be the common people. After hearing Suren's answer, Yun 11 suddenly felt a little sad and lost for some reason. She knew Suren was doing it for her own good, but she really didn't want to contact him. Maybe even she herself didn't know that in her eyes, except for the young man in front of her, there was no room for anyone else. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 406. Early the next morning, Suren kicked the monster awake who was still pretending to be asleep. Get up and lead the way, don't pretend to be asleep. The demon stood up smoothly and said with a flattering look. Brother, I'm not pretending to be asleep. Just follow me and I'll take you out of the restricted area. I told you not to call me eldest brother. I don't dare to take the term your eldest brother seriously. After Suren finished speaking, he gave it another kick, making it jump. With Yinong leading the way and the two following behind, it was as relaxing and comfortable as if they were visiting their own back garden. Outside the restricted area. At this time, more than 1 million troops had gathered outside the restricted area. Of course, not everyone dares to go in. Many people just come to watch the fun. Since the restricted area is closed to air, everyone can only take out the means of transportation used on the ground. But not everyone can have something like a battle armor. A battle armor requires a lot of resources to build, and a high-performance battle armor costs a huge amount of money. Most people can't afford battle armor. Therefore, those who own armor are either rich or noble. When the first sun rose in the sky, there were already people rushing towards the restricted area impatiently. After the second and third sun rose, everyone collectively passed the boundary marker of the restricted area and set off towards the restricted area. Those who thought they were powerful left the large army and rushed in their own directions. The weak ones huddled together for warmth, preparing to find someone and then look for opportunities to grab them. Outside the restricted area, the people from the two major divisions and the troops from Biwistar have not yet taken action. They are waiting for someone. After a while, a fiery red streamer armor descended outside the restricted area at an extremely fast speed. I've met the Domain Lord. The two major departments greeted him in unison. Hongyan hummed slightly, then looked into the penalty area. Lord Territory Lord, if so many people enter the restricted area, will they make the being inside unhappy? The director of the Sky Survey Department asked worriedly. Hongyan looked forward and said calmly, it doesn't matter, there are so many people in the Empire, some will die. Furthermore, through this opportunity, I can also test the current strength of the Dragon Emperor for your Majesty. His Majesty is about to leave confinement, and his strength will definitely reach a higher level. I believe that your Majesty will come to the restricted area again to fight with the Dragon Emperor. We, the ministers, must know how to share His Majesty's worries. After hearing this, everyone understood why the domain chief offered such a huge reward. It turns out that finding Yun 11 is just one of them. The real purpose of the Territory Lord is to take this opportunity to test the current strength of the Dragon Emperor. Hongyan looked at everyone and spoke again. Remember, the reason why the Empire can control hundreds of galaxies is not because of you and me, but because of His Majesty. As long as His Majesty does not fall, the Empire will not fall. No matter how happy those remnants of the Wushuan Alliance dance, they are nothing more than clowns in front of His Majesty. Yes, I admire the Territory Lord's foresight. Okay, it must be time for the Dragon Emperor to come out. Come with me to meet him for a while. I might as well try out the power of my Vulcan armor. After Hongyan finished speaking, he led the two divisions and the Biwu army towards the restricted area. On a planet with unknown life in the northern region, a group of people from the Wushuan Alliance gathered in a wooden house in the forest and were discussing something. Elders, The latest news is that the Northern Territory Lord has personally led an army to attack the Biwa restricted area. Huh? Is he crazy? The demon clan in the Biwa restricted area has always been the partner that the Wushuan alliance wants to win over. But the other party has always remained neutral and ignored them at all, so they could only let it go. Now that they heard the news, everyone's thoughts became active again. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If the demon clan in the Biwa restricted area fights with the people of Biwa Star, this will be a good thing for them. According to the report from the spies, it was because Yun 11 went to the restricted area with Suren, and they wanted to go in and search for him. Yun 11? It seems that Suren is also in the penalty area at this time. An elder touched his chin and thought. Hongyan's strength should not be underestimated. Coupled with the two division chiefs and those large armies, Suren's situation seems to be not good. Maybe Suren will be arrested by Hongyan for this. It seems that God is favoring our Wushuan alliance and has given us another chance. Elder Mu, how do you say this? Someone asked doubtfully. You missed the opportunity last time, which resulted in us not getting Suren as an ally. Now that Suren is in crisis again, it's time for us to show our sincerity. As long as we take action against Hongyan this time, we can kill two birds with one stone. We can not only help the Biwa demon clan, but also gain Suren's favor. Do you think this is God favoring our Wushuan alliance? After everyone heard this, they suddenly realized and praised one after another. Goodbye, Elder Mu. Elder Mu nodded slightly and said. Next, gather the disciples above the fifth realm and go to the Biwa restricted area with this elder. In the Biwa restricted area, all parties were moving at this time, and countless forces poured in. The former restricted area did not seem so scary. In a wilderness area in the restricted area, the seven brothers known as the Seven Sons of Biwa were flying close to the ground in their own cross-country airships. Of course, they couldn't fly high due to air restrictions. Huh? Boss, there's someone over there. We are the seventh son of Biwu. We are here specifically to find you. Come with us. Sir, just watch, I guarantee that you won't even recognize them if you beat them. Yao Yao, teach them good manners. This restricted area is so big, I'm afraid I won't be able to find the patrol angel even if it's dark. No, boss, there is a monster in front of those two people leading the way. Hurry over. If it weren't for this temptation, they wouldn't come to such a dangerous place to suffer. After finishing speaking, several people wanted to reach out and arrest people without waiting for Yun 11's consent. The leader of the seven people looked at the map on the dashboard and said in a deep voice. Hearing a voice from behind, Suren stopped and looked behind him. After hearing this, several people cheered up again. Haha, it's really you, Yun 11, we had a hard time looking for you. Boss, when will this be found? It thought it would be easy to deal with these humans. It's her, it must be her. The seven people continued searching like this for nearly 2 hours. You are. After the seventh son of Biwa came to Suren and the others, they took out the portraits again and compared them. Then an astonishing light burst out from the eyes of the seven people. Wait a minute, that woman's back. Do you really think those 100,000 spirit stones are so easy to earn? Keep looking and don't stop until dark. 100,000 spirit stones were enough for the seven of them to live freely for hundreds of years. The monster chuckled. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that our brothers would find us first. Suren's eyes turned cold when he saw this. Yun 11 looked at them with a puzzled expression. The seven people quickly took out the portrait and looked at it. Hearing this, other people looked over. With this money and that official position, we seven brothers don't have to suffer every day. The seven people were extremely excited and controlled the airship to chase after him quickly. What a fuss! There are so many people coming in. Isn't it normal for someone to come in? When Yao Yao heard this, He immediately became excited. He had been wronged all night, and he could finally vent his anger today. It was only when it and the wolf demon met Suren that they were beaten and unable to fight back, making them look a little weaker. It's not a weakling, it can get around in the depths of the restricted area, and it's at the level of a monster when it comes out. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 407. Just now, Yao Yao looked submissive in front of Suren, but when he attacked these 7 people, his whole person changed. The original body shape of about 3 meters turned into dozens of meters in size in an instant. The key is that it stood up on its hind legs like a human. It becomes taller and more oppressive. Coupled with its exposed fangs and cold eyes, it looks even more scary. The 7th son of Biwa could never have imagined that the inconspicuous monster just now could turn into such a terrifying appearance. They thought it was Suren and the 2 men who had casually captured the monster leading the way. So I didn't take it to heart. Brother, what should I do now? The few people haven't discussed a solution yet, and Yao Yao won't give them time to discuss it. It wants to vent its grievances. If I can't beat you, Suren, can't I beat these people? You are all human beings anyway, so just treat Suren as the one who beat you. This is what the Yao Yao thinks anyway, and it can only think this way. The monster looked up to the sky and roared loudly, then slapped several people with his palm. Although it is big, its speed is not slow. The 7 Biwa disciples were beaten so hard in front of it that they were unable to fight back. They all lay on the ground and rolled around begging for mercy. Since Suren didn't say he wanted to kill them, Yao Yao naturally didn't dare to kill them. However, these people could not avoid the physical pain, and they were beaten until they were wailing. Seeing this, Yao Yao felt a little better. After the Yao Yao vented its grievances, the 7 people were thrown one by one in front of Suren. What did you catch her for? Suren looked at the leader of the 7 people. The man replied tremblingly, the territory lord has offered a reward of 100,000 spiritual stones and an official position of his own choice to find her. At this point, millions of people have poured into the restricted area. What's the reason? The man replied again, I heard that Yun 11 was the only one who knew about the destruction of the patrol angels, inspectors, and the Star Destroyer fleet. Find her and you'll find the truth. When the man said this, he seemed to have guessed something in his heart. He couldn't help but raise his head and look at Suren, his eyes full of surprise, and even a little surprise. It seems like you know something. Suren looked at him, smiled and said, it's too smart, but it's not good. No. I don't know anything. We didn't see anything, please. Suren did not give them another chance to beg for mercy, but sent them away with a knife. Suren was not prepared to let them go at first, and he only asked Yao Yao to teach them a lesson just to know why they wanted to capture Yun 11. It seems that those people attacked the restricted area to find you. To be more precise, they wanted to find me. However, they harmed the monsters in the restricted area. Suren glanced at Yun 11 who was standing aside, then looked at Yao Yao and said, Yao Yao, how long are we to the edge of the restricted area? At this time, the monster transformed into its normal size again and whispered. About a quarter of an hour at most. After looking at the corpses of several people on the ground, the demon lowered his head even further. This man looks gentle and elegant, and he kills people without blinking an eye. It just hopes to leave Suren as soon as possible, as far away as possible. Let's go as fast as we can. On the edge of the restricted area, there is a large river. At this time, the demon and human armies were facing each other across the river, but neither side made a move first. After all, the human race didn't come to the restricted area to fight with the demon race. They came here to find someone. Where's Hong Yan? Let him get out and see this emperor. The dragon emperor came in the air, followed by the demon lords and the ice dragon king. Since this place is located on the edge of the restricted area, the restricted air is no longer so obvious. Ha ha ha, long time no see, Senior Dragon Emperor is still as charming as ever. Hong Yan, wearing a fiery red flowing armor, flew over from behind the crowd. Afterwards, people from the two departments also quickly followed. Hong Yan bowed. North Territory Lord Hong Yan has met Senior Dragon Emperor. But he said the words Lord of the Northern Territory very seriously. It seems to be saying, this is the Northern Territory, and this place is under my control. Did Kong Tian ask you to attack my restricted area? Hong Yan shook his head. Your Majesty is still in seclusion and making breakthroughs. This matter has nothing to do with His Majesty. Hearing this, the Dragon Emperor narrowed his eyes slightly. Emperor Kongtian's breakthrough in seclusion is obvious, and his strength will reach a higher level. Originally, he could barely suppress Kongtianda, who had an immortal treasure. Hong Yan stood in the air holding a gun, his face as calm as ever. Then the tiger roared again and rushed towards Hong Yan on the opposite side. At this time, Hu Zun stood up. The Dragon Emperor naturally knew about Yongzi, and he also understood the whole story from the conversation with Su Ren. The Tiger Lord roared angrily and transformed into its true form. A striped tiger over 100 meters in size sat in the void, with wind and thunder seeming to stir under its feet. Tiger Lord's huge figure suddenly stagnated, and then flew back upside down. However, Hong Yan's expression remained calm in the face of the Tiger Lord flying towards him. They came here to find someone to take the bounty on, not to fight with the demon clan. Both sides have seen that this battle is inevitable. I told you, you are no match for me. I can kill you without the Vulcan armor. Hong Yan shook the spear in his hand, and then walked straight towards Tiger Lord like a swimming dragon. If he loses the fight, he may lose his life. When the time comes, Kong Tian's character will definitely come to fight with him again. This tiger monster can defeat thousands of their troops. I wonder if Senior Dragon Emperor has ever seen this person. The roar of the tiger shook the world, and the human army all covered their ears and showed pain on their faces. Although they have the numerical advantage, there is no reward even if they win. However, that is his brother Su Ren's woman, so it will naturally not betray her. Lord Dragon Emperor, why do you need to personally take action against such a character? Let your subordinates go and fight him. However, do you really think that anyone can fight with you? When he looked at the Tiger Lord again, he saw that its sharp claws, which were like gold and iron, were bleeding profusely. In mid-air, Hong Yan glanced at Tiger Lord, shook his head slightly and said. Thinking that the Dragon Emperor understood, Hong Yan was here to test his strength. There were many smart people. They left the main force and took detours on both sides to rush into the restricted area. I have never seen Yun 11 you are talking about. If you want to fight, just come. Why do you need to find so many useless excuses? The demon clan is working together, but the human clan is different. Humph, you're so arrogant. Let's go, while the demon army is all here, let's take a detour into the restricted area to find someone. The two collided together, and a sound of gold and iron was heard. But now if Kong Tian breaks through, he will probably be able to hit a 50-50 at most. You are no match for me. I am here to see Senior Dragon Emperor today. Hong Yan held it with one hand, and a fiery red spear appeared in his hand. Hong Yan looked at the change in Dragon Emperor's expression and smiled slightly. The two parties looked up. Actually, I came here for one more thing. I want to find a girl named Yun 11. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 408. This Hong Yan has unexpectedly become stronger again. All the demons were surprised. Even Tiger Lord has lost. I'm afraid only Lord Dragon Emperor can suppress him. Oh, It's all my fault that I'm useless and can't help the Dragon Emperor. The demon sighed and looked solemn. But the people on the other side of the river had a different scene at this time. Ha ha ha, the Territory Lord is mighty. Is the Territory Lord the most powerful person in the empire besides His Majesty? Of course, if you can take charge of the Northern Territory, what can you do if you don't have some strength? Among the 4 regions, only the Northern region has a restricted area. To guard the Northern region, you naturally need strong strength. The demon clan in this restricted area is only as powerful as the Dragon Emperor, and the others are not a concern. The Lord of the Territory can easily defeat the Tiger Lord without even using the Fire God armor. How can we allow others to snore on the side of the bed? I think that when His Majesty comes out of seclusion, sooner or later this forbidden area will be trampled by the Empire. While everyone was discussing, Tiger Lord had shrunk and returned to the Dragon Emperor. This subordinate is incompetent, please punish me, Lord Dragon Emperor. The gap in strength between you and him is not small. It is normal to lose to him. There is no need to blame yourself. Go back and watch. Since Kong Tian wants to find someone to test this emperor, I must show some strength to let him know that not everyone can challenge me. After the Dragon Emperor finished speaking, he took a step forward. The crowd who were still talking at this time suddenly fell silent. An unparalleled pressure swept over the sky. The Dragon Emperor did not target those people, but even this inadvertent expression of coercion made them feel miserable. Everyone had to resist with all their strength. At this time, everyone understood how powerful the real strong man was. If the Dragon Emperor is willing, I'm afraid all of them will be wiped out in a single thought. Senior Dragon Emperor, they are ignorant and talk nonsense. As a senior, you should have the demeanor of a senior, so why do you have to do this? After everyone heard Hong Yan's words, they realized that the Dragon Emperor was deliberately targeting them. This is normal. How could they hide the words they thought were very hidden from an existence like the Dragon Emperor? Talking about others unscrupulously in front of others, if the Dragon Emperor hadn't seen this as the territory of the Sky and Sky Empire, these people would have died 10,000 times. Haha, did I do anything? Seeing that the Dragon Emperor refused to admit it, Hong Yan didn't say anything more. Senior Dragon Emperor, please. After Hong Yan finished speaking, the fiery red flowing armor covered every inch of his body. The whole person was completely wrapped in the armor. Vulcan armor. The Dragon Emperor looked at Hong Yan's armor and said calmly, "You guys are the only ones who are keen on these technological armors. Practicers pay attention to cultivating themselves and their bodies, which is the right way of heaven and earth. The heretical ways are just small ways after all. Your Majesty Kong Tian, he doesn't need your so-called battle armor." Hong Yan shook the spear in his hand when he heard this. The small road is also the road, and the great road is also the road. All roads lead to the same destination, there is no difference. Your Majesty has his own way. It's normal for us to be different from him. Hearing Hong Yan's words, the Dragon Emperor's heart froze. The 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace is truly worthy of being the leader of 10,000 sections. It was no accident that it defeated the Wushuan Alliance back then. I didn't expect that a small domain lord in the Sky Empire would also have this opinion. The Dragon Emperor thought highly of Hong Yan. Senior Dragon Emperor, please. Haha, okay, I will accompany you to fight. A battle between the two is about to break out. However, the Dragon Emperor still maintained his human form and did not use his true body. Faced with such powerful men, Hong Yan naturally did not dare to neglect. He concentrated all his strength on the Vulcan armor, and then used the amplification of the Vulcan armor to transmit the power to the spear in his hand. At this time, the world became extremely hot, and the long river on the ground was evaporating little by little. Countless plants turned from green to yellow, from yellow to gray, and finally burned completely. Interesting. The Dragon Emperor's whole body exuded a strong chill, and the cold and heat from both sides collided, and countless water vapors steamed up at the junction, just like a fairyland on earth. Hongyan knew that the Dragon Emperor was waiting for him to gain momentum, so he was not in a hurry. Against such a strong man, he only had one chance to make one move, and the opponent also gave him the chance to make one move. This approach of letting people build up momentum without interrupting is either stupid or extremely confident. Obviously, Dragon Emperor belongs to the latter. Since you are a senior, you should behave like a senior. When Hongyan's momentum reached its peak, the sky he was in had turned fiery red. And his whole person has become a fireman, as if integrated with the Vulcan armor. The people watching the battle below saw this and had to retreat far away, otherwise they would be burned to ashes. Senior Dragon Emperor, be careful. Hongyan shouted softly, and Huo Ren seemed to merge into the spear at this moment. Between heaven and earth, at this moment, only this fiery red spear remained. Gunner and man unite. No, it's a gun, an armor, and a person in one. In the middle of the battle, after the smoke and dust cleared, the river underfoot had long since disappeared, leaving only a huge crater several hundred meters high. Let alone in this small sky and sky empire. I saw that the ice sword in the Dragon Emperor's hand had broken, leaving only a hilt that was slowly melting. Tianyu is not comparable to this place in terms of cultivation resources or the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Thank you, Senior Dragon Emperor, for keeping your hand. I lost. No, we are already in the upper 8th realm at this moment. Everyone exclaimed. Ahem. I didn't expect that the Lord Territory Lord would be so beautiful. He couldn't even force the other party to use the monster's true form. The spear in his hand was shattered inch by inch, and finally turned into fly ash and dispersed in the wind. Hongyan didn't expect that he would be defeated so completely. At this time, he is more like a beggar who is going to die at any time. The others were not having a good time either. They were all disgraced and had blood at the corners of their mouths. In the upper 8 realms, even in the heaven realm, he is still a figure of the overlord level. Hongyan spat out a mouthful of blood, his face had turned extremely pale, and he still looked as high-spirited as before. The human and demon armies were swept away by the shockwave of the explosion. Hongyan tremblingly raised his hands and cupped his fists. Opposite the Dragon Emperor, Hongyan's armor was broken and his body was covered in blood. Looking at the flying spear, the Dragon Emperor held it with one hand, and a long sword made of ice appeared in his hand. They thought they were far enough away, but they still underestimated the impact of the aftermath of the battle between the two. The Dragon Emperor smiled slightly and stabbed out with his sword. Boom! Isn't this already the threshold for reaching the 8th realm? No one knows the reason, only Hongyan himself knows. It's a pity, you shouldn't waste your time here. The demons of the demon tribe hurriedly looked at where the Dragon Emperor was. Everyone doesn't understand, with such a beautiful appearance, why do you want to stay here instead of going to the heavenly realm? Under the blending of ice and fire. Then he shook his head and said. The weaker ones were directly shocked to death on the spot. However, the Dragon Emperor's body was still intact, with no scars visible. What followed was a violent explosion. The Dragon Emperor looked at Hongyan, who was a gun-armored man, with a hint of admiration in his eyes. The strength gap between the two sides is still too big. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 409. You just spared my subordinate's life, and you and I are even. Hongyan smiled bitterly upon hearing this. Although he came to test the Dragon Emperor's strength for Kong Tian, he also came to test his own strength. After all, skills are still inferior to others. Walk. Hongyan turned around and looked at everyone. There is no point in staying here any longer. Lord Territory Lord, I haven't found Yun 11 yet. The director of the supervision department said somewhat reluctantly. Hong Yan glanced at him and said coldly, do you think you can cross the Dragon Emperor and enter the restricted area? This. The director of the supervision department quickly lowered his head. Even if he didn't want to, he had to leave with Hong Yan. Hong Yan has been defeated. If he goes up, he will die. However, he did not give up. In fact, when the two were fighting, he had secretly sent someone to bypass this place and enter the restricted area. At the edge of the battlefield, a group of people were sneaking into the jungle. Elder Mu, this demon tribe doesn't need our help, does it? This Dragon Emperor is a little too strong. Did our plan fail? Elder Mu looked at Hong Yan, who was retreating, wondering what he was thinking about. Now that the demon clan has won, Suran didn't show up. Their trip seemed to have been in vain. No, I'm here now, but I have to do something. Elder Mu looked at the direction in which Hong Yan and others were evacuating, and his eyes suddenly became extremely cold. He had long wanted to kill this person. Hong Yan's Vulcan armor and Vulcan spear have been destroyed at this time, and he himself has been seriously injured. His strength is at a loss. It's better to take this opportunity to kill him, which can be regarded as getting rid of a strong opponent for our alliance. It will be much easier to deal with Kong Tian then. Elder Mu thought of this, waved his hand and said, follow me and kill Hong Yan. Outside the restricted area, when Hong Yan led the people from the two divisions to evacuate here, he suddenly felt vigilant. Who? Come out. Hong Yan roared and looked at the dense forest in the distance. After hearing this, the people from the two divisions immediately raised their vigilance and looked at the dense forest. Boo-hoo! Countless dark green sharp arrows flew towards them, followed by countless vines rising from the ground and wrapping around the crowd. Although people from the two divisions were on guard, more than 10 people were still drawn into the ground. The remnant of the Wushuan alliance, Taoist Mu, it's you. Hong Yan looked at the vines flying around him and recognized their owners at a glance. At this time, Taoist Mu walked out of the dense forest with his disciples. Hong Yan, you're fine. The two of them seemed to know each other, and they seemed to have a grudge. Oh, Master Mu, you are not dead yet. It seems that the fire was not enough. Mu Taoist was instantly furious when he heard this. Hong Yan, you failed to burn me to death back then, now it's my turn. The revenge of the past will be avenged today. Come on, kill them. Mu Daoran took the lead and killed Hong Yan first. Protect the domain lord. People from the two departments stood in front of Hong Yan. Ha ha ha, you guys want to stop me? You're looking for death. Seeing Mu Taoist's arrogant look, Hong Yan looked around and murmured. It seems that there is no one else. In that case, it's time to close the net. As Hong Yan finished speaking, the surroundings suddenly heard loud shouts of killing. Two streams of light armor, one green and one white, surrounded Mu Daoran and others in an instant. Mu Daoran was shocked when he looked at the two people who suddenly appeared. Lord of the Western region. Lord of the Eastern region. You. At this moment, he still didn't know that he had fallen into a trap. Ha 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 ha, remnants of the Wushuan alliance, we have been waiting for you for a long time. Yes, it's not a worthwhile trip if you can catch a big fish. Hong Yan looked at the two of them and said, I'm injured, so I'll have to worry about you too. Ha ha, with such merit, I wish I could be bothered by you every day. The man in white armor laughed and killed Mu Taoist. Hong Yan had arranged everything about this matter from the beginning. Entering the restricted area in the name of searching for people, and testing the Dragon Emperor's strength on behalf of the Sky Emperor, he also took this opportunity to verify his own strength. He was sure that the Dragon Emperor would not kill him, and he was also sure that the Wushuan alliance would not be able to help but attack him when they saw his seriously injured appearance. Every step here is within his plan. The people of the Wushuan Alliance will soon either die or be captured under the joint efforts of the three domains. Even Mu Taoist is no exception. If you catch this big fish, you need to interrogate it carefully. Brother Hong's plan of killing 3 birds with 1 stone is really admirable. Hong Yan waved his hand. Okay, let's not talk about this. Let's go back to the city first. This time we must ask him about the person who destroyed the Star Destroyer fleet and where the remnants of the Wushuan Alliance are hiding. That's what Brother Hong said. Everyone escorted Mu Daoran and others to fly to Biwu City. Within the restricted area. Before Suren could reach the battlefield, he was blocked by hundreds of people. Is that person Yun 11? It's definitely her. Haha, we are rich. Then he pretended to shout loudly. Yun 11 naturally knew what Suren was thinking, so she didn't struggle, but looked scared. When Suren saw these people, he suddenly grabbed Yun 11, put a knife on her neck, and sneered at the crowd. This devil, he, was the one who killed our companions who went to Blue Star to investigate together, and it was he who together with others destroyed the Star Destroyer fleet. After Yun 11 said this, her eyes were filled with tears. After seeing Yun 11, these people's eyes also showed excitement. Angry curses came from behind the crowd. Take care of yourself. What are you doing? Are you acting? This sudden change made the monster on the side look puzzled. After Suren finished speaking, he sent a message to Yun 11, follow what I taught you. Yao Yao, run quickly. Who the hell? People from the Supervision Department, one of the most powerful people in the Northern Territory. Who are you? Let her go. Of course I know who she is. I captured her. How can I not know? If you don't want her to die, stay away from me. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation. How could they bear the beauty crying? Others thought she was scared or crying for her dead companions. Fuck, catch this kid. Dozens of people from the supervision department lined up and walked to the front. However, its IQ is not low. If Suren does this, no matter what the purpose is, it will just follow suit. After Suren whispered in her ear, he pushed her over with a gentle palm. Get away. She was unwilling to do this at all, but Suren told her that only in this way could she and her family be safe. One person and one demon quickly ran towards the depths of the restricted area. This is a walking 100,000 spirit stones plus an official position. You want to save her? The group of people stared at Yun 11 one by one, their eyes glowing green like hungry wolves. Damn, it turns out this kid is the culprit. Yun 11, don't cry, we will definitely save you. Before the man could finish scolding him, he immediately shivered when he saw the other party's clothes. Boy, are you looking for death? Let her go quickly. Do you know who she is? Suren smiled upon seeing this. Yun 11 immediately pretended to be asking for help and shouted. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 410. Damn, he can run fast. Otherwise, do you believe that I can break his legs? One person cursed. Brother, he killed many patrol angels and inspectors, and collaborated with others to destroy the Star Destroyer fleet. Are you sure you can break his legs? What, you don't believe me? The man showed off his muscles and stared at the person next to him. Believe it, we believe it. The people next to him nodded quickly. Damn, I can tell by your expressions that you don't believe me. Next time I meet him, I will definitely break his legs and show you. Take Miss Youngzi and let's leave quickly. Yun 11 took one last look at the direction Suren was leaving, then turned around and left with everyone else. After Suren and Yao Yao ran for a while, they stopped when they saw no one was chasing them. Sir, those people are not your opponents, right? Why should we run? The demon didn't understand that it could kill those people on its own, but if Suren told it to run, it could only run along with Suren's performance. Suren laughed when he heard this and said, "How can we send her home if we don't run? Are we going to tell others that she and I are on the same side? This puts her family in danger." The monster nodded after hearing this. Its IQ was not low and it understood immediately. "Sir, with all due respect, I think that human girl likes you. I found that she has been peeking at you, and the reluctance in her eyes just now was very real to me. Didn't you notice at all?" Suren shook his head. "I have a favorite person." The demon became excited when he said this. "Harmful? Sir, how can one person be enough? Aren't all of you strong humans having 3 wives and 4 concubines? Take me for example. I have married more than 10 people. As the strongest member of the Yi clan, I have priority in mating within the clan. Roll." Suren gave it a kick. After Yao Yao dodged away, he silently despised Suren in his heart. Duplicitous human beings, who are so concerned about other people's safety, even say they have someone they like. Why can't you be as direct and generous as this demon? According to its idea, whenever you see a female you like, you can just walk over to her and say, "Beauty, I'm attracted to you, come and accompany me tonight." Seeing the monster with its head down and giggling, Suren kicked it again. "Stop being silly, lead the way, and exit the restricted area in another direction." One person and one demon took a different path, and not long after walking they encountered the returning demon army. The Dragon Emperor quickly flew down after seeing Suren. "Huh? Brother Suren, where are my brothers and sisters?" The Dragon Emperor looked at the demon, which frightened the demon so much that he knelt on the ground and explained. "Lord Dragon Emperor, this has nothing to do with the little demon. It was Lord Suren who sent the girl away. It's none of its business." Suren looked at the Dragon Emperor and others, and after asking about it, he realized that the war was over. "Brother Suren, I will take my son back to his ancestral land to receive the inheritance in the next few days. If you have any questions, please contact Tiger Lord and the others." "Okay, I'll go to the Blood River first, and then I'll discuss something with you." Suren had already made up his mind about letting the Dragon Emperor's demon clan take charge of the Sky and Sky Empire. Anyway, he couldn't leave this place to the Wushuan Alliance. After returning from the Blood River, it was time for Suren to make the final reckoning. Suren did not intend to let go of any of the high-ranking officials in the Sky and Sky Empire. "In that case, let's just say goodbye." "Good." The Yao Yao led Suren to the outside of the restricted area, while the Dragon Emperor led the demons to the depths of the restricted area. Northern Territory, Biwa City, inside the Territory Lord's mansion. Officials of all sizes from the Northern Territory were standing in the entire courtyard at this moment. "I heard that several domain owners teamed up to catch a big fish from the Unparalleled Alliance. Is this true or false?" "Of course it's true. My nephew is a patrol angel and he was also present at the time. Also, Yun 11, who offered a reward of 100,000 spiritual stones, has also been brought back from the restricted area and is now questioning him in the inner hall. Now I think the Empire will use all its strength to capture the remnants of the Wushuan Alliance. As long as we follow the clues with the help of the big fish caught this time, we will definitely uproot those people. If we can make a contribution, maybe this official position can be promoted." "Quiet." At the door of the inner hall, a guard shouted coldly. Inside the inner hall, Hong Yan sat at the top of the table, flanked by the 2 domain masters from the east and west. Next are the directors of each department. In the main hall of the hall, Yun 11 stood alone, looking particularly helpless. If she had faced the gazes of so many strong men before, she would have been frightened and overwhelmed. "Yun 11, do you know what you are talking about?" Yun 11 nodded. because I brought him into the penalty area and lied that I knew the way out of the penalty area, so he didn't rush to take action. Yun 11 raised her head, looked at Hong Yan, and replied with a slight trembling. Everyone was looking at the girl standing in the hall. If we go by what Yun 11 said, this person moves around as frequently as the remnants of the Wushuan alliance. After 3 consecutive questions, Hong Yan had already quietly used a hint of coercion. Then why didn't he kill you? Yun 11 took a deep breath and said all the words Suren taught her. I know what I'm talking about, but everything I said is true. The Dragon Emperor's missing son is named Skatha. If you don't believe it, you can send someone to investigate. Tell me, what exactly did you go through on your way to Blue Star? Oh? That's it? Look me in the eyes and answer me. However, after experiencing so many days with Suren, she became much calmer. Also, he seems to have reached some kind of agreement with the Dragon Emperor in the restricted area. One of his pet beasts is the Dragon Emperor's long-lost son. Who is that boy who appeared in the restricted area with you? The strength of the Dragon Emperor is obvious to all, and it is simply not something they can handle. Now that His Majesty has not come out of seclusion, if the Dragon Emperor unites with the Wushuan alliance to launch an attack, it will be really bad. Sure enough, upon hearing this, Hong Yan frowned and looked at the 2 domain masters on the left and right. Except for His Majesty, no one in the Northern Territory or even the Sky and Sky Empire is his opponent. Then you rushed to investigate but were all killed by him. Then why hasn't he killed you since he arrived in the Northern Territory? Facing the attention of so many people on us, you can still remain calm and calm. You have a good character. The atmosphere in the entire lobby also became solemn. Hong Yan first praised him, and then asked in a deep voice. She has sat face to face with powerful men like the Dragon Emperor, so she is not very afraid of the scene now. The Dragon Emperor actually has something to do with Na Suren. You said that the man named Suren first killed the patrolling angel Zhaojin, and then he forcibly took away a temple. When everyone heard this, they suddenly felt that something was wrong. Hong Yan shouted coldly and stared at Yun 11. Why are you the only one who survived? Yes. He said he wanted to come for revenge, but he didn't know the way to the North Territory, so he left me alive and let me lead the way. Then the Dragon Emperor, is he also related to the Wushuan alliance? This was also what Suren asked her to say. Only by being true or false can the credibility be increased.